I remember vividly standing on the front porch of this house, talking with my real estate agent, who was also a real estate investor. And, we were just standing there, and I was basically trying to find a way out of the deal, like why I didn't want to do it. And, because I was nervous. And, he was like, look, Brian, you're at a paralysis by analysis point. You've got to make a decision. You've done all the education. You just got to pull the trigger and do it. And so I did it, and I made $800 on that flip. I didn't even have a contractor lined up. I literally talked to the neighbor next door, and they knew somebody that had a buddy, and that's who I used to do the work. And so it was a lot. I made a lot of mistakes, but again, going back to what I said earlier, you make mistakes and you learn from them and you move on. You can't dwell on those things. You just have to learn from them. But I didn't know at that point, which way it was going to go. Obviously, I was lucky; it went well, and you could look at it like, well, you only made $800, and that's not very good. But well, one, I could have lost money, but two, I educated myself and got paid at the same time. I didn't have to pay for the education. So, I choose to look at it from that light in a positive way.
Join me, Jeremy Swick, on Into the Unknown, a podcast that delves into the personal journeys, stories, and experiences of individuals across diverse professions. As a historian by trade, I firmly believe that our personal histories shape our present and offer valuable insights into our paths ahead. With that being said, let's get into it. On this episode of Into the Unknown, I am joined with my good friend Brian Head. Brian, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I can't complain. Had a little bit of a driving, went to a conference today and coming back from lacrosse. And, it's been a day, but it's been a good day,
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
So
yeah, for me, it's been a Friday for sure. It's been a lot of meetings, and so I was looking forward to the podcast. So I'm glad we were finally able to connect.
Absolutely, it's always good to make time, and it's something that I always like something to look forward to at the end of the week. And I've been excited to speak with you.
Cool. Likewise.
First of all, I always like to start the show kind of how we know each other, and at this point, it is what I might call the Marcus Ogden cinematic universe here. That's how we first got connected.
Yes, yeah. Marcus connected me to you. Marcus is my business coach, so he's been my business coach for probably about a year and a half now. Amazing guy, as I'm sure you can attest to. Just a good human being, good friend, and he's helped me tremendously in my business. I wouldn't be where I am today without him. So, but I'm definitely glad that he connected us and that we were able to make this happen. So.
Absolutely, and I always tell people how important networking and connecting is, and it's a testament to the person, obviously, that we met, but also to him that it's almost like a seal of approval before you talk to someone. This guy is a good guy. Rather than kind of the jumping into the cold or the unknown of not knowing someone, it's always nice to kind of have that a seal of approval, especially from a guy like Marcus.
Right. Yeah. And it kind of makes it an easier transition in networking, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Love it. So let's jump into it. I want to know that comic book issue number 1. What's your origin story? Who are you?
Yeah. So of course, Brian Head, born and raised here in San Antonio, Texas. I left a corporate job that I had with a larger financial services firm here in San Antonio last year after just shy of 25 years there. Spent about half that time as a licensed stockbroker and financial advisor. And then the other half was kind of as a business analyst, working with IT folks and business folks. But during that time, I was investing in real estate on the side. So I've been investing in real estate for over 20 years. That's really where my passion has always been. And so about midway through last year, I was able to kind of make that transition to real estate full time. And so, my real estate story is similar to a lot of folks that have gotten into real estate. Started out in single family. Bought first house I ever bought was I moved into from my parents' house. It was a HUD foreclosure, a little bit of a fixer upper. Did what's called a house hack from day one. Rented out one of the bedrooms to a coworker, so that way I was kind of getting some income from day one. And then started buying some single family rental properties, flipping. Kind of dabbled into Airbnb a little bit, smaller multifamily, duplex, triplex, and then a few years ago got into the commercial space with a larger 100 plus unit apartment buildings. So that's kind of where my focus is now.
Congratulations. That's no easy feat.
Thank you.
That's really impressive, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. Been a lot of fun, and I've definitely gotten my bumps and bruises along the way. I mean, I think anybody that knows anything about investing, you do it long enough, you're going to lose money at some point. So I've had my fair share of deals that didn't work out and that have struggled, and it's the important thing is that you learn from it and that you adjust your strategy, you adjust what you do, so that you try not to repeat those same mistakes. And so that's what I've done.
Brian, I love you that you said that. I'm just curious, what really got you into real estate to begin with? I know you had mentioned it from the start you had started investing, but what about that caught your eye?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think so. From in high school, I had an economics teacher that asked us to start tracking stocks and stuff like that in the newspaper, and so did that, and that kind of put a little seed in my head there for investing, and then started as soon as I graduated high school, I started checking out books at the library and stuff, and just learning as much as I could, and so for whatever reason, and I don't know the origin because my parents aren't. Hopefully they don't see this, but honestly, not the best with money. I learned a lot about what not to do following them, but great hard workers. Just great people. Just not the best with money. It's not a priority for them, and so but it's always been a priority for me. And so the investing thing and being a stockbroker and getting my licenses, obviously that had a lot to do with it. But it's kind of ironic. I buy multifamily properties, but I never wanted to live in an apartment myself. I never wanted in my opinion, through throwing money away, living in an apartment. You don't have anything to show for it. Now, I know there's plenty of people that also don't like the headaches of having to deal with, taking care of a house and having a house that has plenty of headaches. I can totally appreciate that. So, just a difference in philosophy. I'm not saying one way is better than the other, but that's just how I looked at it. And so when I had the opportunity to move into that first house, I jumped on it. And the fact that I was able to see the house appreciate and get income by renting out one of the rooms, and then it just quickly started snowballing, buying additional rental properties, seeing the value there, and so I think that's just kind of just that value is kind of what attracted me to it for sure.
Brian, I love that. So, on I think everyone's journey, whether it's investing or, entrepreneurship or really anything, there's a chance to go east, a chance to go west. You make a decision not really knowing the outcome. What was one of those experiences for you?
Yeah, it was actually the first house that I flipped. I was I'd read a bunch of books and taken some courses and gone to networking events and stuff. And this was back in the early 2000s, and I remember vividly standing on the front porch of this house, talking with my real estate agent, who was also a real estate investor, and we were just standing there, and I was basically trying to find a way out of the deal, like why I didn't want to do it, and because I was nervous. And he was like, look, Brian, you're at a paralysis by analysis point. You've got to make a decision. You've done all the education, you just got to pull the trigger and do it. And so I did it, and I made $800 on that flip. I didn't even have a contractor lined up. I literally talked to the neighbor next door, and they knew somebody that had a buddy, and that's who I used to do the work. And so it was a lot. I made a lot of mistakes, but again, going back to what I said earlier, you make mistakes and you learn from them and you move on. You can't dwell on those things. You just have to learn from them. But I didn't know at that point, which way it was going to go. Obviously, I was lucky; it went well, and you could look at it like, well, you only made $800, and that's not very good. But well, one, I could have lost money, but two, I educated myself and got paid at the same time. I didn't have to pay for the education. So, I choose to look at it from that light in a positive way.
Brian, I love that you mentioned it. I remember when I first got on my journey, I only made maybe $100. I was definitely undervaluing, undercharging for my services, and of course, there's as you mentioned some naysayers. Oh, you only made 100. I'm like, that's 100 more, and it gave me time to learn and perfect the craft. And it's one of those things is I love learning, and I that's something I definitely appreciate about you. What you just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think everybody has to go on their own journey, and I think I've had plenty of people that I've mentored and talked to and try to help and getting into real estate. And, they'll ask me for advice and stuff. And I'll freely give my advice, but I'll always caveat it with, you've got to do what's right for you. Just because I did it this way doesn't mean it's right for you. And I don't like the folks that just cram that in people's faces that this is the only way to do something, because that's just not reality. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's got their own path to go down. Everybody's got their own comfort level with what they're doing, and so that's really what I think is important.
Brian, I love that. Part of the podcast is I love learning people's stories and their own journeys because everyone does have a unique story, and it's been one of those fun things to meet and talk with all walks of life, and everyone's doing a little bit something, and it's just fun to kind of get that view and that story.
Yeah, yeah. It's awesome.
So, Into the Unknown, the title of the podcast. What is your version of the unknown? What are you stepping into right now?
Well, so I as in part of my journey a few years ago, one of the reasons I got into the larger multifamily space was because my wife and we kind of had a life event. She was diagnosed with breast cancer back in 2018, and I say that only because that was kind of a turning point and a pivotal point in our lives, and it made us stop, reflect on life, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and everything. And so that was when I decided, and we talked about it, and it was like, it's going to be really hard to scale, and people do it, but it's harder to scale single family rental properties. It's a little bit easier when you buy an apartment building, a little, leverage and everything under one roof. And so that was kind of a turning point for me, was getting into that. And so I got into multifamily, what are called syndications, where, a group of partners will come together, find a deal, find investors that want to passively invest in a deal, meaning they don't have to do any work. They're just, looking to you to invest their money for them. So I started doing that. That went well. When the economy kind of changed, and I'm very transparent, so I have no problem admitting that, obviously when things change in the economy, interest rates went up, it caused some negative impacts on some of the properties that I'm involved in, and so it's caused some challenges, and things we're trying to work through, but it opened my eyes a little bit, and then kind of going back to my investment time of my life as well when I was a stockbroker, the another pivotal changing point for me was, I decided I don't feel comfortable asking people to invest in a, $50,000 in an apartment building, one single apartment building, putting all their money at risk in that one building. And so I've kind of shifted my strategy now, and I started my own real estate fund. It's like a mutual fund, but it's a private fund where people can invest in the fund, and I'm going to acquire parts of 5 to 10 different apartment buildings throughout Texas, all larger apartment buildings, 100 plus units. And when somebody invests in my fund, now they're diversified across a portfolio of properties instead of putting everything into one apartment building. And so there's still great opportunities. Don't get me wrong, to invest in individual deals and things like that. And I think that has a place in certain people's portfolios. But if you don't have, I don't know, $1 million to go and put into a bunch of different deals where you can get that diversification, this product allows for that. And so I saw the need. I've invested my own money in it, and that's where I'm focusing now. And so I created this fund so that other people have that opportunity to invest alongside me in this fund.
Brian, I love that. And you kind of jumped to my next question. I was like, if people want to learn more about what you do and where are you on social media? Are you on social media, or what's your website, or how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So LinkedIn is the only social media that I'm on. I'd never been on Facebook, just never had time to mess with that. Having a full-time job and then having the real estate stuff on the side for 20 years while I was working, and then 2 kids and married, there was just no way it wasn't a priority for me. So all that to say, LinkedIn is the only place I am. I have a website, headstartequity.com is the website. You can go there. You can see some of the properties that I've been a part of. There's information about me, about my journey, about what we do at Head Start Equity. So that's probably the best place to start.
Brian, I love that. I want to thank you for your time, and I really appreciate it, man. I wish you nothing but success going forward.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure being on.
That was another fun episode of Into the Unknown. I truly appreciate you taking the time to listen. And if it provides you any value or entertainment, I would love if you shared it with others, liked, subscribed, and really just help the podcast grow. Again, tell a friend, tell a foe, just anyone who might enjoy hearing some stories of people's own journeys and what got them to where they are today. Till next time.